In 2025, it's hard for modern women to accept hierarchies and shortcomings. Feminism has told most women that they are perfect. They are all 10s and they can have it all. It's only when these women leave home, go out into the real world, and find out there are levels to everything. This is especially true in women's number one commodity, our looks. It's tough being a woman. The world is so shallow to you. Now, I know you guys are thinking, Pearl, the world's way more shallow to us men. Hey, it only gets better for you guys. Life only gets better. For us, we all know it's only going to get worse. It's like, imagine if you guys were making $1 million a year at 18, and you know at 35, it's going down to $30,000 a year. That's the life of a woman. Because from a young age, you know how important looks are. Attractive women get preferential treatment at school. They get preferential treatment in dating. And you see women that are terrible people just get great outcomes because, well, men love a hot woman. You know what it is? It just is what it is. So this brings us back to the conversation of mids. Mids are women that may have been a 9 or 10 back in their hometown, but they find out when they move to a big city, they're not that hot. These women get upset when they see real attractive women, the real top tier women that get results they're never going to get. For example, I went to a small high school an hour from Chicago. The hottest girl there, the best looking girl from my high school, she was not shit in LA. I don't think she went to LA, but had she gone there, she would not have been nothing. So these women get upset when they see a real attractive woman. The real top tier women get results they're never going to get. Mids go through a period where they try their best to keep up with the 9s and 10s, usually by getting plastic surgery or being whores. I mean, who are you going to go on a date with? A 6 that's going to put out, or a 9 that's going to make you wait 3 months? That's how mids compete, being more slutty or selling purity to the dumber guys. Sorry, fellas. Now, just to recap the life cycle of a mid, most grow up outside a larger city where the small population props them up a little higher on the scale than they think they really are. Again, in the small town, small school, small city, they might think they're a 9 or a 10. Naski. 4 to 6, maybe a 7. Then they move to a bigger city and are shocked and jealous when they see beautiful women and the results that they get. Then they begin to hate the beautiful women. I mean, wouldn't you? If your whole life everybody says, who's your friend, right? Who's that? I know the fellas, you're like, I've heard that from a young age. That's happened to me. There's always been a best looking guy in the friend group. I know what you guys are thinking. Look, but you guys can be valuable in other ways. Nobody cares. Like, you could be a really successful lawyer and nobody cares if you're not at least cute. If you're a fat lawyer as a woman, you're basically useless to society. Not all. Okay. So they begin to hate beautiful women and try to keep up with them and run in their circle. Sometimes you'll see a mid befriend an 8, 9, or 10 to maybe get their leftovers, right? The guy comes in, asks about the friend. The friend says, I'm not interested. The mid's there, right? She's at least like, if I was a Gen Z woman, I would make it my mission to be friends with Trump's kid. That would be your best. That is what I would do. I would make it my mission to be friends with the little, I forgot her name, the one that's about to graduate high school. I don't know how I would do it, but that would be my mission because she is going to get so many offers and you could take her leftovers. Look, okay. So they get plastic surgery and other procedures in a desperate attempt to keep up with the 9s and 10s. So when I was in Miami the other day, I went to Nobu and I looked around the restaurant and I realized there was 3 tables, right? There was the hottest women in the restaurant. Now these are women that your head will turn. They are beautiful, stunning, gorgeous. And do you know who they were on dates with? Men 20 to 30 years older. Second table, a bunch of mids with a club promoter. So one guy, like 10 girls. Third table, women paying for themselves, women dining with other women. So it was like basically how hot they are or how free the meal was, right? So they get the plastic surgeries. They see the 9s and 10s getting invited onto all these parties, getting all these high-level men in their DMs. They try to keep up. They use Facetune, plastic surgery, anything to keep up. Then they get run through by high-value men because they're pretty enough to sleep with, but not pretty enough to marry. Occasionally, you will see a mid pull a high-value guy, but her personality has got to be A1. She's got to be on it. She has to have studied men or grown up around dominant men from a young age. If she didn't, cooked, donezo. Yeah, if she watched, you know, if you're a beta, right, it's going to be tough for the daughter, right? She's not going to really be able to compete with the 9s and 10s, right? Which is fine, you know. The mids could settle for like a guy on their level, but the problem is Facetune sometimes makes them think they're 8s to 10s. The attention makes them think they're 8s to 10s. Anyways, they end up settling for a guy they don't want, or they go back to their hometown and sell some sucker they sell a sucker that they wanted him the whole time. So that's when you ever get the girls from your high school that like slide back into your DMs. She views you as a sucker, right? Or the girl from your college that friend zoned you. She's like, okay, he's desperate. He's waiting. Because here's the thing. Women don't realize that men's like invitation has an expiration date. Where if you say no past a certain time, they're really not interested. But we have this tendency to think that it's like for life. That we're going to be like 50 and he still wants you. No, he's moved on to the next 22-year-old piece of ass. Look it. You'll get older, but your ex's girlfriends, assuming he doesn't get married, they stay the same age. They do not age. Okay, so the last show I did was about mids, and we talked about tier 1 and tier 2 cities. Now, I covered mids that moved to tier 1 cities. Tier 1 cities are the cities where attractive women can wield the most power. Cities like LA, New York, Dallas, and Vegas. Tier 2 cities are cities that have major factors that keep them out of tier 1 categories like weather, crime, liberal brain rot, etc. Like a girl could be an 8, 9, or 10, but if she's shaving her head and dyeing it blue and getting fat, she's not an 8, 9, or 10 anymore. So how strong the feminism kind of puts down the city, right? Tier 2 cities include Denver, Seattle, Houston, Chicago. Today, we are going to look at some of the mids that move to tier 2 cities, rate them, and decide how far they're going to go in that city. So we got Lydia. Now, she moved to Chicago. Oh, no, from Chicago to Denver, a tier 2 city. Okay, so I'll take a mid over a crazy 10. That's true. You will. I don't hear myself. I don't know if oh, I know what the problem is. I got to plug this in. You might, but do you think that celebrities are compromising on looks in most scenarios? No, they're dating models, right? You get the occasional one that does, and women will regard that woman as a hero, right? But in general, the guys who can get a 10 that is submissive are going to do it. Most guys can't, right? I mean, and to be honest, tends to have a tendency to be kind of bad people. Now, it's not because they're sluttier, right? I'd like to say it's not, the mids are sluttier, okay? The mids have to put out more. I still can't hear myself. I don't know if they still have to put out more in order to compete. But they tend to be better people. Why? They're humbled. From a young age, they know not the top choice, right? Not the number 1 draft pick. You're not first, okay? I'm being honest. Now, you know, I've gotten the hey stranger message on Facebook a few times. Who's gotten the hey stranger message? Who's done it? Oh, I can hear myself now. There you go. Okay. Who's gotten it? Let me look at the other chat. I do read the chat on the website first. Pearl, you look sharp today. That color suits you. Thank you, Fazelle. I appreciate you. Hi, Pearl. If you want to look into the news about Kim Delaney, she lost in court to her husband. It does happen. Miracles do happen. But I'm not going to sell dreams to you guys. If you and your wife go to court, she's probably going to win. I hope you do. But I don't sell dreams here. So we got this girl who moved from Chicago to Denver. Now, I'd like to say the way I rank these cities. Now, Denver kind of is an up and coming city. My little sister just moved to Denver, right? So I know a lot of people are moving that way. And the way I do see Denver as a tier 2 city, just because the liberalism is so high that a lot of the women go lesbian or ruin their looks there. Like they just ruin it. But they are in shape. So out of the tier 2 cities, I do put Denver at the top. Chicago is between a tier 1 and a tier 2 because Chicago isn't really known for the beauty. We have to hibernate half of the year. So I think the hottest women are going to go to places they can be naked more. It just makes sense, right? I mean, if you got a good body, what, you're going to have a good body and not use it? Women don't have morals. Like, come on. So, but like the one thing about Chicago is we're so big that we do have a decent talent pool here. I think the most attractive girls from my college, they went to Nashville, if I'm being honest again. But I went to a small college. My volleyball team was like a college of mids, you know, strong mids because, you know, volleyball, but mids. So this girl, I'm giving her a 6'7". Okay. Actually, I'm saying 6, but she's a good, like, I don't think in my head, I don't question that she's a 5, right? Like she's a 7, a first glance, because she's got the long hair, symmetrical face. But then you look a little closer and you're like, no, that's a 6. But I don't think she's a 5, right now, just off of this picture.
Well, I recently moved from Chicago to Denver, and it was a pretty substantial.
Yeah. So how is she going to do? I think this is a decent move for her. I think in Denver, I mean, the one problem is the men, they love blondes. I don't know what it is, especially if you go to a place that's got a lot of white guys. White guys just love the blonde ladies. They really do. Not all YouTube, not all. There's exceptions. Okay. But if we're talking about generalities, it's like they'll worship a 5.5 that's blonde hair and thin, right? And so from what I understand about Denver, I've never lived there, just watching, there's just a lot of white people in Denver from what I've seen. Okay. I know they had the people that like took over the apartment complexes, but the way I see that is white people are so nice. They'll just let you into their freaking house. So I could see how we would get an apartment complex taken. Like white people are the type where someone will knock on their door in the middle of the night and they'll say, come on in. You know, those women, because that happened like not too far from me. I grew up around white people, right? And there was an intruder, and what they would do is they'd send this crying woman to like doors in the middle of the night saying someone was after her. I'm like, that would totally work. We've wised up. Don't try that in my neighborhood now. But like, they don't fall for that anymore. But I could just see how that would happen. Because we just, like, do you know what? Like growing up, there was people that like stayed in my house all the time. People come, like, you know, when I was a kid, it wasn't that abnormal. So again, I could see how the apartment complex, I could see how that would happen. I don't know if they came with guns blazing or whatever, but even if they didn't, that doesn't shock me, right? And I just like to say not all. I know this is making a generalization, okay? I know it's not everybody. There's exceptions. So I need to say that so I don't get flagged for hate speech. If I met a girl in Chicago, I would say, why the long face? Okay, so she's talking about from Chicago to Denver. The pro of Denver is, what do they do in the summer? So I know they all snowboard and ski there. So if she likes like the outdoorsy men, I mean, there's plenty in Denver, plenty of potheads if she's into that. I don't know what the major industries are there. I don't know. So if a girl's, you have to remember, women pick the city with the type of guy that they like. So if a woman's going to LA, she probably likes actors or like musicians, right? If a girl's going to Miami, she likes influencers or like maybe male models. If she's going to Denver, maybe she's into the surfer guys or whatever main industry is in there. If you think that women have not researched this, yeah. And you can also see what she goes for by the industry she tends to work in, right? For example, nurses, they tend to cheat with the doctors, you know, because women have a tendency to become the men they want to marry. So if you see a girl with a sleeve, she probably likes men with tattoos, you know.
Move that resulted in like 80 mental breakdowns the month that I left, but I thought I would share a couple of my reasons of why I left Chicago if you're thinking of moving there or maybe you're thinking of leaving. So I lived in Chicago for almost 4 years, and the first two.
The real reason is she had sex with too many men in that city. Okay. That's the reason she's not telling you, right? There was a bad breakup. Because the thing is, when women break up, there's no mending the friend group. Okay. That's the worst thing in Friends that they would like teach. They would show. And my boyfriend pointed this out to me. They make it seem like everybody stays friends. Have you guys not lived through a bad break? Now, they could stay friends if the woman didn't really like the man. If she is trying to destroy your life, like she did love you at one point, at least, you know. That's why being the provider guy or the friend that she didn't even really like, it's not the worst thing in the world because at least she won't completely destroy your life. But yeah. So that's the real reason she's not saying.
2.5 years, I absolutely adored it. And then the last year and a half was...
I had a situationship that went bad. I had sex with a guy out of my league and it went south, so I got to leave. That's the real reason, but she's not saying that.
Really difficult for me. And one of the reasons was because I stopped drinking. I've been sober since...
Yeah, so when women go sober, she usually did something she really regrets when drunk. So I know sober may seem like a green flag. She might have did something crazy.
It's December 30th, 2021, and I was basically exiled from all of my friend groups because the lifestyle in Chicago is...
Why would she be exiled from a friend group? Can we just put two and two? Would someone get exiled from a friend group if they just said, hey, I don't want to drink anymore? Would she get exiled from a friend group if she had sex with someone's boyfriend? That would seem more probable.
Get blackout drunk and do a lot of drugs. And I'm a little bit of a senile old man because I've never done drugs and I'm typically in bed. Even when I was going out and drinking a lot, I was still in bed by like midnight. So not only did it kind of put a big wedge in my friendships, but it also made it difficult for me to stay sober and to find friends that wanted to do something other than drink.
Now, that's not a bad idea. In Denver, they all smoke. From what I've heard, it's like drugs. So, and it's a very active culture. So everyone works out there and that sort of thing. Snowboarding, skiing, not a bad move.
Because there's not a ton of things to do in Chicago other than drink. When I did stop drinking, I realized that a lot of my friendships were very like selfish, one-sided, and kind of we were only friends because we were drinking and going out. So once I stopped doing that, I realized a lot of my friends didn't give a shit about me, and it was difficult for me to stay in a city where I kind of had bad relationships. So that was a big...
As I said. I mean, refer back to a minute ago.
The reason why I left was just to get some space from some of those friends.
A situationship that went south.
Friends. But I will say, I mean, I still have some really close friends in Chicago that I...
Men have the STEAM train. Sanity, time, energy, attention, money. Women have the L train. Latch, leech, loathe, and leave. Texas, vegan, MGTOW.
Dearly miss.
Yeah, it's like pros. You know, every time I meet a guy that says his wife was different, not always, a lot. They always moved from a different city. That's really convenient, right? Do you know what I mean? He's like, my wife would never do that. Well, but she just moved from Denver or LA. Okay.
But it just wasn't enough to stay because I wanted to move somewhere where I could be outside and be active, and it's really difficult to do that in Chicago. Another huge reason was the weather. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, I grew up in Wisconsin, but holy shit, the weather sucks. I mean, you get really nice summers for like 2 or 3 months, but then it's really gloomy during the fall and freezing.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's completely right about that. I don't go outside in the winter. I don't want to do it. I don't like being cold. If I go somewhere, I have to know that parking is easy. Sorry to make this about me, but I'm a woman, so I'm going to do it anyway. I have to make sure that the walk from my car to wherever I'm going is not far, and I'm not going to freeze for that long. Otherwise, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But in the summer, we do go hard in the summer. We do. The summer's a lot of fun.
During the winter. I've also been long distance with my boyfriend for some time, and he lives in Denver. That's why I chose to move to Denver, but I also...
Oh, there you go. She cheated. And she doesn't want the friend group to tell him. Sorry, I'm so malicious.
Love the weather here, and I love how active everyone is, but I did want to be closer to my boyfriend, and we decided it was finally time for us to be close instead of doing long distance. Those are really my main reasons why I left Chicago. I miss the food so much. I miss the walkability. I didn't have a car there, and it was so nice. So there's definitely a lot of things that I do love and miss about Chicago, but obviously not enough because I left.
Okay, next on the board, we got Alex Britton, who also moved to Denver.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. This is like a mid that white men will worship, right? Now, because the thing is, this is like the ideal like wife because she's not hot enough that she's going to get attention everywhere, but she's thin. They just want a cute enough face, blonde hair, thin. That's what I've seen. Blonde gets you like a point, but just with the white, light eye, she's going to do well. Denver.
Yeah, I'm actually.
Oh, wait, sorry. Denver, I wouldn't put as a tier 1 city, but they're strong. Like, I don't think she's going to be worshipped in Denver, but I think she'll do all right. She'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm actually still pretty new to Denver. I just moved here a few months ago. Oh, wow. I mean, you've been here longer than I have then. I just moved here a couple weeks ago. Hi, guys. I overheard you talking, and I'm actually very new to Denver. I just moved here 3 days ago.
You guys, I literally just moved here this morning.
Oh, I haven't even moved here yet. I'm just planning on.
A lot of women are moving to Denver. I think it's cheap enough too. I'd have to ask I have 2 siblings that are out there.